Hey, buddy. Welcome back to the Jesus in a Dream podcast, where we believe with Jesus in a Dream, anything is possible, nothing is impossible, and the possibilities are endless. I'm Caleb. This is Zach.
Hello.
And we want you to enjoy life and build God's kingdom. We are excited to announce this is the launch of Season 3. We just wrapped up Season 2. Now we are going into a new season in a lot of different ways. We're going to have new formats to the episode, new guests, one more episode a week, and the formats of the episode will be easier for you to follow along, the listener, and the titles and how we present them on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, if you are watching there, could you give us a like and subscribe? It helps out the channel, shows your appreciation, knows we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And if you're listening on any other podcast platform that has reviews, would you please leave us one? 5 stars would be great. 1 star is good too. Honest feedback is always good. We want to get better and continue to do this. And so, Zach, you know what I was thinking about the other day?
What were you thinking?
I was thinking you and we should start a
Futsal League.
Oh, hey, it's Jake Nelson, who started his own futsal league in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Welcome to the podcast, Jake.
Oh, thanks for having me. Leaving me out.
That was a dumb bit. I wasn't actually thinking about
perfect intro.
A perfect intro, if I do say so myself. Jake, thanks so much for joining us on the Jesus and a Dream podcast. We're so excited to have you here and for you to tell us a little bit about your story. If you've been listening to the Jesus and a Dream podcast for a while, you know that we've had guests on. We're doing a new format with the guests where we really want to give them the spotlight and tell their story and what they're passionate about. And so, Jake, could you just tell us, what is it that you are passionate about? Well, wait, hold on. You got to tell the people who you are first. Give us a little introduction and then maybe tell us, what are you passionate about?
Yeah, well, thank you guys for having me today. Like I said, Caleb, my name is Jake. I am a youth pastor up in the St. Cloud area. So about an hour, 45-minute drive. So a bit of a drive this morning. But yeah, so I've been a youth pastor for the last couple of years. Was a kids pastor for a couple of years before that. But yeah, I met Caleb in college, and we've been good buddies ever since then. And so thankful to be here today and just to talk a little bit about something I've just been pretty passionate about, and a dream that I feel like God has been giving me. So I'm excited to be sharing that a bit today.
Well, right before you get there, we just got to tell everybody that I am a 2-time champion in our fantasy football league that Jake is the commissioner of. I thought that was important to bring up.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm
still defending champion.
Yeah, no, I'm still pretty salty. He did win last year, and he was 7-6 was his record, and I was 12-1. So
follow your dreams, kids. Anything is possible.
I'm a little upset by that still, but Caleb likes to gloat.
Yep, I mean the people need to know that I am the best fantasy footballer. So Jake, you are a youth pastor, but that's not why we brought you down here. Why we brought you down here is because you started something really cool, and I would love for you to just tell us a little bit of that story, and hopefully encourage people listening who, we started this podcast with that bit of like, what if we, but I think that's how a lot of dreams start, and that's kind of how your story started. And so if you just do us the favor of you have the floor here and just tell us a little bit about, the God dream and the passion within it and how you've seen God move within that.
Sure. Yeah. Man, there's a lot to it. So I'll try to summarize the best I can, but so I work with 2 other youth pastors. Their names are Jake and Luke. And so it gets confusing. We have 2 youth pastors named Jake. So I get a lot of his emails, or he gets a lot of mine. But yeah, so I mean, we have a futsal court. And so for listeners maybe who don't know, it's basically, just think of soccer. And so really it's just like soccer inside, it might be indoors, but the way we play it is think hockey boards. And so it's just kind of like a little bit smaller. And then, the ball's a little bit smaller. It's like a size 4 rather than a size 5 soccer ball, but it's a weight of a size 5. So it's a little bit heavier, so it doesn't bounce like crazy. So we built a futsal court at our church in the back parking lot. And we just would play pickup games all the time. Like, we just love futsal so much. And with our youth leaders, with students, with whoever, just from our community, we just played a ton of futsal. This was a couple years ago, just a ton of pickup games. And it was 2 years ago, spring, we were sitting up in our office and just talking about futsal, as we do usually before our youth meetings. And we were just kind of like, what if we started a league? Like we talked about it because it was a fun idea, but like, what if we actually did it? Like, we got teams together, we did standings and rankings, and we had, player stats, and we did playoffs and a whole regular season. And we're like, let's just do it. Like, we know we could get teams. And so we just kind of just started going for it, and we started recruiting. And so this would have been summer 2021 was our first year, and we had 7 teams. And we had a team from Wilmer, a team from Cold Spring, a few from St. Cloud, a couple from Sartell, which is where we're at. And it went super well, and it was so much fun. And so we did this league, and it went awesome, and it just kind of like took off. Like, at the end of the regular season, there was a couple nights we had over 100 people there watching, whether it was just like guys from church, family members, friends, whatever. And it was just like, where is this coming from? But there's a pretty big like soccer community in our area. And so we got a lot of following from that, but a lot of momentum picked up from that. So we did this league that summer, and then we went and did a fall tournament as well. So just a 1-day tournament. We had 12 teams come out. We had a couple from like the cities come and play, which was super fun. And so then guys kept asking like, hey, when are you guys going to do the next league? Like, we want more. When is the next league? And so we're like, hey, we're back. We're doing it again this next year. And so we just finished a few weeks ago with our Senget League, Senget season, I should say. And so we had 10 teams, and we capped it at 10 because we just do one like league night. So you play all your games in one night. You just play 2 per week. And so we had to cap it at 10 just because otherwise the night gets so long. But we had probably 15, maybe 16 teams that were interested. And we had to turn a lot of people down. But I mean, we do everything from like we make it feel super official. Like, we have refs. We just bought like this really nice new like LED scoreboard, which is sweet. Every team has to wear jerseys. Like, we buy jerseys. I mean, it's built into the player cost when they register, but we buy jerseys, and they have like sponsors that pay for like different things like our refs and our whatever. But we have like big sponsors on all the jerseys. Teams have to wear their jerseys. You got to be registered. So we make it super official. We keep track of player stats, and we do standings, and we have a podcast. It's not as official as, all these mics and stuff, but we're getting there. And so we do a podcast just to recap league nights. And so I mean, it's been really cool to see where this league has taken off to. And like, we have an Instagram page that, we have almost 1,000 followers. And I was telling these guys, I think half of it is bots, just from like how much momentum it's just picked up. Like, we get these random guys from like just European countries that follow us, and it's like, who are you? And like, why are you following us? But it's amazing, and it's so much fun. And so we, post TikToks and whatever, but it really is just a cool space. I say all that to say it's a cool space for guys in our community to kind of come together and just play futsal and just do something, and we say even for some of the high school boys that play, keep them out of trouble and just do something really that they enjoy doing in like a healthy like atmosphere. And so we don't like push a gospel message at the end or anything like that, but we just really just believe in creating a positive, healthy atmosphere where there's good sportsmanship. And so I mean, it happens at the church on Sunday nights, but I mean, that's kind of the gist of the league and kind of what we've created, but it's been a ton of fun so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I got to come up to your guys' championship tournament, not this summer, but last summer. It was awesome. And that's kind of why I wanted Jake to come onto the podcast, because when he's saying it's official, like they're doing it at a high level, I would say, with the resources that are afforded to them. And I love that, because that's what, MyMountain and Jesus the Dream is all about, that us as Christians should do things to the best of our ability with what we have in our hands. And so my next question for you, I guess, would be, it's futsal. Why does it matter? Why do you care about it? And how do you see an impact through doing this?
Yeah. I guess it was something that we started. When you say why futsal, is just because, Jake and Luke and myself, it was something we saw at the youth camp in Minnesota. They have this futsal court, and so we loved that, and we saw how many people we could get involved in just building one of those. And so we built it at the church, and it's just been going super well. Like, we love it. We love playing and getting people involved. And like I said, there's a big futsal, or not futsal, but soccer community. And it's been crazy to see how much use this court has gotten, from high school boys to young adults to just random people across the community that have come to find out about this court that we have back there. It just gets used all the time. And so it's been really cool just to see it get used. And there's just been a lot of cool opportunities to have some cool conversations that have flown out of having this at our church, in a sense. And so it's been cool to have it, and it's a pretty cool door to get into the community that isn't like, hey, come to church, but it's like, hey, just come play futsal with us, and a lot of guys will play futsal, whether you play soccer or not. Like, anyone can play futsal, because it's not a huge soccer field. It's a pretty small court. And so really anyone and everyone can play, and it's pretty just all inclusive. So it's been fun.
That's cool. So you were telling us earlier that this is kind of a layer of a dream that you feel like you've had burning in your heart. And I want you to kind of tell this story, because I think it illustrates so well that sometimes God will plant a dream in our hearts, but he won't always tell us how or the what. And so if you could just maybe go back a little bit and talk about maybe the dream that God had planted in your heart, because it wasn't necessarily futsal, but he used the passion of futsal to get you to what you were dreaming about. And so if you could just tell us that story, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. It's been pretty cool to see what God's been doing through this. And so I was telling these guys earlier, but St. Cloud has a pretty big Somali population, and it's actually in the U.S. The last time I checked, it could be different, but the second biggest Somali population per capita. So I mean, there's a lot of Somalians in our city, in our the general St. Cloud area. And so when they found out about this court, because we invited just a couple of guys we met one time to come play futsal with us, when they found out about it, it was so funny. They pull out their Snapchat, and while we're like mid game, there's this guy named Boule that we were good buddies with, and like he was on my team. And he's Snapchatting the whole time, like, look at this court, it's so sweet. Like, Boule, dude, get the ball, it's right next to you. But like, it just caught on like wildfire. And so these guys are coming out, and they're playing, and there's some nights where all these Somali guys will be out playing, and there's 75 to 80 Somali boys out playing, and it's crazy, and it's so fun. And so we'll go out and just kind of play around with them. But to your question, I think early on when we started doing this and we had these boys start coming, God just kind of put on my heart, like, they need to be reached. And who's gonna reach this people group? Because it wasn't even that like they just are lost and don't know Jesus, but I mean they're staunch Muslims, and so I mean they're very strict and very focused on their faith that they have. And so many times I feel like I pray for opportunities to go out and reach the lost, and I think so many times I miss what is right in front of me, and God just brings in this people group that is right here, like right in our area, and not even just in my city, but literally coming to our church and using our facility. And I mean, there's guys as before we're playing, and it's like they'll roll out their prayer mats and they'll pray before they go out and play, and in their personal like prayer times that they have, strictly throughout the day. And it's like, I'm not in this state of feeling offended or like, how dare you pray to Allah during like you're at our church. It's like, man, God, thank you for bringing them here. Thank you for an opportunity to just have a relationship with these guys. And so we've gotten to know them pretty well, and God has just put on my heart that they need just to be reached. But it has just felt so long. I mean, this has been a couple years now since we've met a lot of these guys and have just kind of got to know them. It has felt like this impossible mountain, like not even just a hill that we're climbing. Like it just feels like a ginormous mountain of reaching this community who have been forever just, I mean, the Somalians have just been very strict in staunch in their faith, to Islam. And it's like, how in the world are we going to reach them? And so God's just been giving me different dreams of how to do that. And so it's funny when you called me, it was after a moment I had at one of our youth camps, Caleb, because I feel like God has given me this dream. And 2 years ago, he gave me this dream to reach, this community. And I was like, okay, like I'll try, but how in the world? Like, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. I don't speak their language and I don't know anything about their culture. All I know is they like soccer, and that's about it. And it's like, I like soccer. So, I mean, that's kind of the start of it. And so they started coming and playing futsal. But I just had this dream, and God's like, man, you have to reach these people. And even though it felt like it was impossible to me, God is saying, just keep moving forward. Just keep pursuing it. Keep running after that, because he'll open the door. And so it was a couple of years ago, I had that dream, and I kind of put it on the back burner because I didn't feel like I was making progress. And I just get busy and all those different things that happen. And so it was at camp for our youth students this last summer, and I got done praying with our students, and I'm just kind of hanging out by myself in the back, just kind of praying on my own. And this guy comes up to me who I know just a little bit, and he kind of looks me just dead in the eyes, and he says, Jake, I have a word from you, from God. I feel like I need to share with you. I was like, all right, like, what's up? And he just kind of looks straight in it was like he was looking into my soul, like one of those stares, like where I knew he wasn't like kidding. He wasn't messing around. And he just said, I feel like God told me that there's this people group, or there's these certain students or something. There's a certain group of people in the St. Cloud area that you've been trying to reach, and you've just had no progress in it. And you've been trying and trying and trying, and you just feel like you haven't taken any ground. But God is wanting me to tell you today to not stop dreaming and to not give up on that dream he gave you to reach those people, because the door will be opened. And he's like, I have no idea who those people are or who those students are or what that means, but I feel like God told me to say that. And it was like instantly, obviously I knew, like, okay, that's that Somali, population in St. Cloud that I felt for years that I need to reach. And I just kind of put it on the back burner because I wasn't making progress. But it was so cool just through that little moment at a youth camp that God just spoke to me again. He's like, don't forget about this dream I gave you. Because so many times I feel like I can get a dream from God. He can speak to me. It's like, man, that's awesome. Thank you, God, for that dream. And it's like, okay, but how are you actually doing that? Where are you actually going from that initial dream, from the conception of that dream? It's like I just get stuck in that stage sometimes. So yeah, I mean, God really gave me that dream. And so since then, it's been continuing to just process through, like, all right, what do I do with that? Like, how do I actually reach this, this people group? And so, just sticking around late, some Friday, Saturday nights when they come and just playing futsal with them, getting to know them. We kept a couple spaces open in our league so that we could have a couple Somali teams play in the league, which was awesome. And so I've gotten to know some of them pretty well. And so in this fall tournament we have coming up here in a month, I'm actually going to be on a team with 4 other Somali guys. So it's going to be pretty cool. But I mean, there's a lot of details to that, but generally speaking, that's kind of the dream, that God's given me. And like I said, it's felt like a mountain just to climb in reaching the Somalians, but and I feel like I'm still at the base. I feel like I'm still at base camp of that, but I'm excited just to see what God does through that. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the long and the short.
Can I ask you what your experience was like when you started connecting the dots of, okay, I have this dream of reaching a specific people. I don't know how I'm going to get there, because a lot of times we associate those with, okay, this is going to be difficult, this is going to be hard, and it's going to be very serious, right? And then you have this other thing of, okay, starting this futsal league sounds really fun. Obviously, it's still a lot of work to do. I imagine it wasn't just like we put out a flyer, league starting, and then it was done, right? And then but that I'm assuming is very joy filled and exciting. And so, yeah, can you just speak to your experience of like those two things meeting in the middle, and if there was a moment where you like realize like, oh, this might be how it happens, or it's at least starting or something like that?
Sure. Yeah. It is a lot of work. The league is a lot of work for sure. A lot of behind the scenes stuff. I mean, we keep track of player stats and standings, and we do a podcast, like I said. And so there's a lot of work that goes into it. And then on the team recruitment side, it's bringing guys in. And I think it was this moment where one of our league nights, or might have been a pickup night, but in our process of creating the league, and then where I felt like I had this, okay, maybe I can reach this people group. We had a bunch of the Somali guys come into our church, because it's the futsal court is right outside of our youth room, and we have this big garage door that opens, and so we have that open just for guys to go inside, get a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever. And we have this big slide in our church in the lobby, and you can see it from the youth room. And so there's this one night where we had 3 of our Somali guys that I know pretty well. And 2 of them I'm on this fall tournament team with. Their names are Shafi, Leo, and Abdi. And they saw this slide, and they were like, "What is that?" And we're like, "Dude, that's a slide we have in our lobby." And he's like, "You should go down it." And some of the Somalis are really strict. Like they're not supposed to go into a church or a building of another faith. Some of them though are. I mean, it's in a sense. I mean, you think of us. There's Christians who say they're Christians, but like, they're not, or like they identify as that, but don't really do anything with it. Same can kind of be said about Muslims, not the same exact, but I mean, they call themselves Muslims, but they're not really practicing necessarily. And so they're like, yeah, whatever, I'll go in the church, don't really care. And so they went down the slide, and they went down head first. And I still have a video on my phone. I watch it because it's the funniest thing. Like they're just dying laughing, and like they're pushing each other down the slide. And it was like this moment that clicked of like, these worlds can come together. Like my dream I have to reach these Somalis, and this league we have, where we're inviting people in, can come together, where it's like, dude, we can make this a 2-in-1 thing. They don't have to be separate. And so ever since kind of that moment of having those guys in our lobby and going down our slide, I'm like, it was almost this moment that clicked where it's like, this is a possibility. Like it's becoming reality, because it felt something that was so far out. Even as they'd come to our building, it's like, well, we'll never get them in the building, or we'll never be able to have conversations. And it's been cool to see throughout the whole process of this, like they're starting to ask questions of like, so what is this place, and what do you guys do here? And because like we again run I work there, and so I kind of run the court. I go and turn on the they'll call me at 1 a.m. Hey Jake, can you come turn on the lights? Because like they're wanting to play, and it's like, dude, like Shafi, I'm sleeping, like please. And like they just don't care. Like they don't care, especially during Ramadan. Like they'll play all night, and and so it's like it's just funny just to see just this whole process. Like they start to get to know me a little bit, and they're asking questions like, what do I do? What's my job? What is this place? And it's been really cool just to see the process of them starting to get a little bit of understanding of like, oh, okay, it's a church. Oh, he works there. Oh, this is a Christian, church. And so that was kind of that moment, I guess, if you're asking of like kind of those worlds colliding. It's like, okay, this can be a reality in reaching these people. So,
did that dream that was so far off suddenly come a little bit closer? Did you feel like that was the case?
Yeah. And it has been for sure a work in progress. There's not been like these big steps that have been taking. Like it truly is just so relational. Like I know that it can't just be like hey, I play futsal with these guys a couple weekends, and it's like, hey, come over to the court sometime and I'll present the gospel. It's like, dude, I know like if I'm going to have one of these guys accept Jesus, it's like, dude, that's going to be a wild thing. Like in their faith, it's like, you just don't do that. Like they'd get, in a sense, ostracized or whatever from their family. And it's like, so I know that it really is going to have to come from relationship. And so that really has been kind of my goal right now, is just building a relationship with these guys. yeah, I felt like I'm supposed to try to learn to speak Somali as well. Cause I mean, when they're talking with each other, it's all they speak is Somali. And it's like, I don't want to just like have them come to our church and come to us. And it's like, I'm trying to like work through that. It's like, dude, I want to meet them where they're at. Like, I want to get into their world and I want to learn their language and let them know like, dude, I really do care about them. And it's been tough. Like Somali is a tough language to learn. And I can't roll my R's, which is really hard because you need to be able to do that. Like that's like a huge pronunciation. I can't do that. So I've prayed a couple of times like, God, help me to roll my R's because I can't. For some reason, I still can't. So maybe it's not time yet. I don't know. But yeah.
That's really good. I love all of that. And I love just the simplicity of your yes, and then the simplicity of God, how has like moved you forward in all of this stuff. And this is something we talk about a lot, is I think sometimes we over dramatize our dreams and we think that it's going to happen in this like huge dramatic way, and then that can like overwhelm us, or that can like stop us in our tracks because we're like, oh, like I don't know how I'm gonna get up this mountain. And you're talking about like I was just literally letting these guys go down a slide in my lobby, and that's when God gave me the breakthrough within myself to be like, okay, I can keep going here.
Right.
Like I can continue to do this. This matters. And I love, like, this is why, I started this conversation of like, why does it matter? Like, why does futsal matter? Like, what does that have to do with the gospel? What does that have to do with our souls? What does that have to do with getting people to a healthier place? And I think you've illustrated so well that, passion is common ground. When you're passionate about futsal, like there's other people who are passionate about futsal. And when you can come to common ground, then you can start to have deeper relationships with these people. And I think for you, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, part of the reason why the Somali population looks like a mountaintop, or like looks like a mountain, and an impossible dream, is because there's a lot of differences more than there are similarities, and futsal allows the common ground to be had. And I think that can be said for anybody's passion.
Yeah, no, that's true. There is a lot of, cultural differences from, the Somalians and just kind of where we're at. And so, hello, Arthur, good to see you. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the things that's felt difficult, is there are a lot of differences. Whether it's, anything, you can name anything just about culture, about way of living, about anything. And it's like, there's so many differences that it feels like we're just in totally different worlds. And this has been one thing that like, we just are always kind of on the same page about. And so it's been really fun. And it's been something we've been able to just continue to connect through. And it's been cool to see the relationships continue to grow through that with guys that I never thought I would consider friends. And now it's like, I'm texting them and there's been times where we're trying to figure out like, dude, let's get together and play FIFA sometime. And it's like, I never thought I'd be doing that with some of these guys. But it's been cool to see through, like you said, Caleb, like passion is common ground. And I think for us, it's like futsal is that common ground. And, so, that's kind of what we've been using. And I think through that, they've been able to see it's like, okay, we're not so different after all, And so that's kind of been the piece we've really just been holding on to. So
I think I'll say it's just really cool when Caleb first told me like kind of your story and then you explaining it more. I just think it's so cool how just even sports in general kind of transcends like culture and transcends language barrier too,
for sure.
Which obviously, like, we all know that and understand it because it's like just soccer specifically is like played all over the world.
Yeah.
And it's like I could jump in and play soccer with someone who literally like has an absolutely different culture and is like from completely somewhere else, and we'd both like understand, it's like, hey, this is how we're going to play together and build a relationship there. And yet if you were to tell me like, hey, I have a heart for reaching a Somali people group, and then you'd say, and so my plan is to start, and then my plan is to start a futsal league, I'd be like, I don't follow. It's like those two things seem unrelated. And it's like sports seems so removed from like faith, right? Mm-hmm. And from like Jesus tells us just everything we need to do in the Great Commission and go and share the world. And then it's like, and sports. It just seems so complete cut ties from everything like faith and everything church. And yet it is like something that literally transcends so many barriers. And I don't know. Yeah, I think that's great that like you're discovering, like putting the two together and you're like, whoa, this makes complete sense. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have dreams that feel like, or they've got two dreams, what they think is two dreams, right? It's like, okay, I need to reach these people. I need to do this thing. And yet I have this other thing that I'm passionate about that makes no sense. And I don't understand how they go together. And I think it's like, okay, who said that they are separate? You know what I mean? Like, that's where your thing of like, I'm assuming you would agree with saying when you decided to start the futsal league, like that idea of reaching this people group was probably not part of that. Maybe it was a little bit in the background. I mean, I guess you'll answer that, but
yeah, I mean, it was a little bit, but I mean, it really just was birthed out of how much we love futsal. Like, let's just start a league because we want to have fun.
And it wasn't some master plan of like, okay, we'll invite these people.
Yeah,
and it's our
no, it wasn't at all
agenda, you know?
Yeah, no, and it wasn't. But I mean, that's kind of been lately the underlying tone to it is like, why can't we use this as a resource to reach these people? And I think so many times, like I get caught up in like, okay, if I have to do this or if I have this dream, it's going to be impossible. But it's like, man, I just am such a believer that God has given us specific passions and abilities for a reason, and we can use those. Like, we don't need to be just going out of our comfort zone all the time in order to reach people. Like, God has given us passions. He has given us different desires and different abilities to reach people. And it's like, dude, use the things that God has given you and use the gifts that God has given you, the resources God has given you to reach out. And it's like, dude, we love sports. We love futsal. And it's like, we don't need to go way out of our way in order to reach people. It's like, dude, there are people out there who love futsal and want to come in and play. And it's like, man, I can use something that I'm passionate about, a gift that God has given me, something that I enjoy doing to reach out, to reach people. And that has been really what it's kind of come down to is like, dude, we love futsal and we love just getting together with other guys. And as these people come in, it's been this awesome opportunity just for us to have conversations and build relationships that I never thought I would have before. But it's been really cool to see what's come out of it so far.
That's awesome. And I'll add one more thing here because we're getting close on time, but I feel like this is a great example of enjoy life and build Jesus' kingdom, which is a phrase we say all the time on the podcast. But like, I think, you're enjoying life and you're also building God's kingdom. And I think a lot of these people who are coming from other faiths are seeing that you are enjoying life and you are building God's kingdom together. And I don't know specifically, with how, like you said, there's all different ranges of how seriously they take their faith. But I mean, just a lot of times in all faiths, it's like, it's so serious you can't enjoy things. And I think there's a lot of people who take all of that, and even Christians take it too seriously sometimes. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I just think that, and you miss out on that joy part. And I think that's what you're bringing back and like showing these people is like, we have fun. Like this is the joy of the Lord here. So it's everybody's having a great time, and it's not, oh, this is a serious soccer league because we're here to exemplify Christ, which means no one laughs or something. I don't know, but
yeah. Could you take us through? One of the reasons we do this podcast is because chasing your dreams is hard. Like there are points within it that you want to give up, or it might seem like it's impossible, like you were saying. What are just some of the things that you've learned within this process about God, maybe about yourself, maybe about how God uses you to go after him and to go after your dream?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. I think one of the biggest things I've learned is having patience. And really trusting God. And I know that's such a cliche term. It's like, just trust God. And it's like,
it's cliche because it's true.
It is. Yeah. But I mean, the reality is in this, story, in this dream that I've had, is that it like legit has been something that I've had to come to terms with, that I cannot do it on my own. Like I just straight up can't reach these people just through my own will. It's like, it really is going to have to be God moving and like just really opening doors through this and giving, abilities to have conversations and to build relationships with these guys. And it's like, I've had to come to terms with the fact that this will take years. Like, this is not going to be something I do over the course of one summer where we do a league and I invite these guys to church and they come. It's like, I know that this hill is greater than that. And even though it's big, it's like, I know that our God is bigger and that I can, through him, reach this people group and we can do something that's absolutely incredible. But I've had to learn patience. And I've always thought I'm a pretty patient guy, but like, for real, this has been years in the process, and I still feel like I'm at the base camp of this hill this mountain that, we're climbing and trying to reach these people. And so, as you say, like, what's been something you've learning, it's like, man, truly patience in this and just trusting God that it will come in due time. It doesn't have to be on my calendar. It doesn't have to be on my schedule, but it's going to work as he sees it. And just trusting that process that God is laid out and just continuing to follow him and just do all the things that I can do with what he's given me. And so those are kind of the biggest things I feel like I've learned. And it's been difficult because it's like, okay, God, you gave me this dream. Just give it to me. Let me have it. Like, let me do this thing that you've, set out for me to do. But it's like, you really just got to trust him that it'll work out in his time. So that's probably been the biggest thing.
That's really good. Well, thank you so much, Jake, for coming down and sharing. If you're listening to this, I just told you this, or I told you at the beginning that this is the start of season 3, and we're going to have a different format. So how our format is going to work is on our first episode of the week, we're going to have a guest, or Zach and I are going to talk about something that we're passionate about or a dream that we have, and just tell a story of like how we see God moving, how it's impacting the world, what we're learning. And then our second episode of the week is going to be something we're going to call the expansion pack. And in the expansion pack, we're going to talk about the biblical values and principles that we see in these stories. And we're also going to pray for you, the listener, as you guys chase your dreams. And we're going to pray these principles and these values and these truths over your life. And so you don't want to miss that. And then our third episode of the week is going to be what we're going to call DLC, downloadable content. And that's going to be more community driven. And that will just be Zach and I. But look out for us on our social media and in the YouTube. You can use the YouTube comments, and we're going to be taking comments and taking questions, and we're going to be engaging with you, the listener, and our Jesus and a Dream community more often. And so those are episodes you're not going to want to miss. We're going to try to do 3 episodes a week to the best of our ability, but we're laying it out more of a format that you can follow and that you can engage with more, because we want to engage with you. But Jake, thank you so much for making the drive down. He's actually going to join us for the expansion pack that will come out next episode. But yeah, if you're watching this, like and subscribe, leave a review. We love you so much. Anything to add, Zach?
I got nothing.
Anything?
Come back for the next episode. That's all I'll add.
Anything else, Jake?
No, thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Proud of you. You're doing great things. All right, love you all. We'll see you next time.